10 hidden female weakness men need to know. Imagine a life where you are free from the constant weight of expectation, where your emotions, desires and needs are honored not as weaknesses, but as sources of strength. What if you could live each day with a sense of peace, clarity, and true happiness, unshaken by society's pressures? Today, we're going to explore the hidden challenges many face, not to dwell on weaknesses, but to uncover the path to your fullest potential. Together, let's journey toward a life of wisdom, authenticity, and joy. Stay with me, this could be the turning point you've been waiting for. Number 1. Emotional sensitivity, understanding the depth of our emotions. Emotions are an inherent part of who we are. But when we speak of emotional sensitivity, especially in women, it's often misunderstood as weakness. The truth is, emotional sensitivity is a reflection of depth. It means feeling life more fully, the joy, the love, and even the pain. In this fast-paced world, we often feel the pressure to suppress emotions, to toughen up and ignore our feelings. But what if, instead, we acknowledge them? The happiest and most fulfilled individuals are those who embrace their emotional range. By allowing ourselves to feel, we open the door to true happiness. We experience deeper connections with others and learn to navigate life's challenges with resilience. Let me ask you, how often do you silence your emotions because you're told they are a sign of weakness? What if we could shift that narrative? Instead of letting emotions overwhelm us, let's use them as a tool for growth and self-understanding. The path to happiness doesn't lie in suppressing emotions, but in understanding them. When we stop running from what we feel, we begin to truly live authentically and joyfully. Embrace your emotional sensitivity. It's not a weakness, it's your greatest strength. Number 2. The need for validation, seeking approval in a world of expectations. How many times have you looked for approval from others, whether through a compliment, a like, or a word of encouragement? It's something we all crave: acknowledgement that we matter, that our efforts are seen. For many women, this need for validation runs deep. It's not a flaw, but a natural part of being human. In today's world, where external achievements often define our worth, the quest for validation can feel like a never-ending cycle. But here's the key: true happiness does not come from others' recognition. It comes from the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. Imagine how liberating it would be to no longer measure your worth by others' opinions. Ask yourself, how often have you based your happiness on someone else's praise or criticism? How many times have you allowed their approval or disapproval to dictate your mood and decisions? It's time to break free from this cycle. To live a life of happiness and wisdom, we must turn inward. Validation from within is far more powerful than any external acknowledgement. True confidence and lasting joy come when you realize that your value is not determined by the opinions of others, but by your own sense of purpose and integrity. Number 3. Fear of rejection, overcoming the barrier to true connection. Fear of rejection is one of the most powerful and universal emotions we experience. We all know that feeling when the thought of being turned away, dismissed, or overlooked stops us from taking action. For many women, this fear can be paralyzing. It often stems from deep-seated insecurities about not measuring up or being unworthy of love and respect. But what if we could reframe rejection? What if we stopped seeing it as a reflection of our worth and instead viewed it as a natural part of the journey to success and happiness? Rejection is not a condemnation of who you are, it's simply an opportunity to grow, learn, and move forward. Take a moment to think, how often has the fear of rejection held you back from pursuing what you truly desire in life? From relationships to career goals, this fear can be the silent force keeping you stuck. Now, imagine what would happen if you let go of that fear. Picture a life where you take bold, courageous steps, knowing that rejection is not the end, but simply a stepping stone. True happiness comes when you embrace yourself, despite the possibility of rejection, and move forward in pursuit of your goals without hesitation. Rejection does not define you, your response to it does. Number 4. Overthinking, breaking free from the trap of endless analysis. How often do you find yourself trapped in a loop of overthinking, analyzing every decision, replaying every conversation, and wondering what could have been different? For many, overthinking is a silent thief of happiness, robbing us of peace and clarity. It's a cycle that can feel impossible to break, leaving us paralyzed by doubt and uncertainty. But what if the key to happiness lies not in endless analysis, but in action? When we overthink, we lose sight of what truly matters, living in the present and making decisions with clarity. The mind, when overwhelmed by excessive thoughts, becomes a battlefield clouded by fear and doubt. Ask yourself, how many times have you let your thoughts spiral out of control, holding you back from making a decision or taking a step forward in life? The truth is, overthinking only deepens the uncertainty. It never provides the peace or answers we seek. True wisdom comes when we learn to focus on what is within our control and let go of what we cannot change. Happiness is found when we stop waiting for perfect answers and start making choices with confidence, trusting ourselves to move forward, even when the path is unclear. Let go of the mental clutter and embrace the freedom of living with purpose and intention. Number 5. The pressure to balance multiple roles, finding harmony amidst life's demands. In our fast-paced world, the pressure to balance multiple roles, whether as a partner, a parent, a professional, or a friend, can feel overwhelming. For many women, this burden often seems endless. The expectation to excel in every area of life creates an internal conflict. How can you be everything to everyone without losing yourself along the way? Think for a moment, how often do you find yourself stretched too thin, trying to fulfill others' expectations while neglecting your own needs? It's a common struggle, and yet true happiness cannot be found by constantly sacrificing your well-being. The pursuit of perfection in all areas is a trap that leads only to burnout, leaving little room for joy or peace. It's time to shift the narrative. Instead of striving for perfection, we must focus on finding harmony. Happiness does not reside in doing it all. It lies in recognizing your limits and setting boundaries that preserve your energy and your sense of self. You don't need to carry the weight of the world alone. True wisdom comes from knowing when to say no, when to rest, and when to prioritize what truly matters. In doing so, you free yourself from the pressure to perform and open the door to a life of balance, joy, and fulfillment. Number 6. Sensitivity to insecurity, embracing your inner strength. In a world that constantly measures worth by external standards, it's no surprise that many women feel vulnerable to insecurity. Whether it's about their appearance, career success, or personal achievements, feelings of inadequacy can creep in and cloud one's sense of self. The truth is, insecurity is something we all face, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's a reflection of our deepest desires for acceptance and connection. But let's pause for a moment. How often do you let insecurity control your decisions or dampen your happiness? When you're constantly comparing yourself to others or measuring your worth by fleeting standards, true contentment becomes an impossible goal. Imagine for a moment what would happen if you could let go of these insecurities and embrace your unique path. The pursuit of happiness begins when you stop allowing external judgments to dictate how you feel about yourself. You are enough, just as you are. True strength lies in vulnerability, the courage to acknowledge your insecurities and yet move forward with confidence. When you embrace yourself, flaws and all, you open the door to authentic happiness. The more you accept your own worth, the less you'll be swayed by the world's superficial standards, and the more you'll experience the joy that comes from living your truth. Number 7. Reluctance to express needs, the power of speaking up. In a world that often encourages self-sufficiency, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that expressing your needs is a sign of weakness. Many women in particular hesitate to voice their desires, whether for emotional support, physical care, or even simple affection. The fear of burdening others or appearing vulnerable keeps these needs hidden, often at the cost of their own well-being. But here's the truth: your needs matter. To live a life full of happiness and fulfillment, you must give yourself permission to be heard. How often have you held back, thinking others might not understand, or worse, that your needs are not important? This silence only breeds resentment and emotional exhaustion, trapping you in a cycle of unspoken desires. Take a moment to reflect. What would your life look like if you allowed yourself to ask for what you truly need? Imagine the freedom of expressing your emotions, your desires, and your concerns without fear of judgment. True happiness arises when we stop pretending we're invincible and acknowledge our need for connection, support, and love. Embrace the strength that comes from vulnerability. Speaking up isn't a burden, it's a pathway to deeper connections, authentic relationships, and a life led by true emotional freedom. Number 8. Tendency to sacrifice for others, nurturing yourself to nurture others. In the pursuit of happiness and fulfillment, there's a tendency many women face: the urge to constantly put others' needs before their own. Whether it's caring for family, friends, or colleagues, the instinct to sacrifice oneself for the sake of others is deeply ingrained. It's a noble act, but when taken to the extreme, it can lead to burnout and resentment. Pause for a moment and consider, how often do you give to others without leaving any energy for yourself? How many times have you pushed your own desires aside, thinking you'll get to them later, only to find that later never comes? This pattern, while seemingly selfless, can take a toll on your happiness. The truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. To truly support others and live a fulfilling life, you must first take care of yourself. This isn't selfishness, it's self-preservation. When you nurture your own physical, emotional, and mental well-being, you create the foundation to give in a way that's sustainable. Imagine a life where you honor your own needs while still being there for others. True happiness is not found in self-sacrifice, but in the balance of giving and receiving, where you value yourself enough to set boundaries and prioritize your well-being. Number 9. Difficulty setting boundaries, the key to protecting your peace. How often do you find yourself saying yes when you truly want to say no? How many times have you agreed to things out of a desire to please others, only to feel drained and resentful later? The inability to set boundaries is a common challenge, one that many women face. Whether it's in personal relationships, at work, or with friends, the pressure to constantly be there for everyone can leave you with little room to care for yourself. Think about it. How many times have you sacrificed your own peace and happiness just to avoid conflict or let someone down? When we don't set clear boundaries, we inadvertently give away our power, allowing others to dictate how we spend our time and energy. True happiness comes from knowing your limits and honoring them. When you set boundaries, you are not shutting others out, you are creating a space where you can thrive. It's not about being selfish, it's about protecting your emotional well-being and preserving your energy. Consider what it would feel like to live a life where your needs are respected and your time is yours to control. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, and it's one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your peace and create the happiness you deserve. Number 10. Cultural expectations, freeing yourself from society's chains. In today's world, cultural expectations often place overwhelming pressure on individuals, particularly women. From the way you look to the way you act, to the roles you are expected to fulfill, society has a prescribed version of what it means to be enough. These standards can feel suffocating, leaving you to question your worth or feel inadequate when you don't measure up. But here's the truth: cultural expectations are not your truth. How many times have you tried to conform, to fit into an image or a mold that wasn't truly yours? We live in a world that constantly sends the message that to be happy, you must look a certain way, behave in specific ways, and even prioritize certain goals over others. But what if true happiness lies in breaking free from these constraints? Imagine a life where you are no longer defined by external ideals. A life where you can define yourself on your own terms, free from the chains of what others expect. You are allowed to live authentically, to embrace your own values, and to make choices that align with your own desires. Reclaim your happiness by rejecting the pressure to conform and embracing your unique path. The most fulfilling life is the one where you are free to be exactly who you are without apology. Recognizing these hidden weaknesses is not about diminishing others, but about understanding the human condition. It is through acknowledging these challenges: emotional sensitivity, the need for validation, fear of rejection, overthinking, balancing roles, insecurity, unspoken needs, self-sacrifice, setting boundaries, and societal pressures that we can build a life of true happiness and strength. By embracing self-awareness, setting healthy boundaries, and living authentically, we unlock the power to thrive. Thank you for your time and attention. I wish you all the best on your journey toward wisdom, happiness, and living a fulfilled life. Good luck.